Chapter 13. We got to Ada in 2 hours. I took a taxi home. Thankfully, Pope had already left for work. Nadu was up and about. She took one look at me, opened her mouth, and was about to say something. Thought better of it and shut it. I went to my room, stripped off my clothes, jumbled them up, and threw them in the bin. I didn't ever want to be reminded of the previous night. I stepped into the shower and let the hot water run over me. I climbed into bed and didn't wake up until later that evening. It was Nadu's voice that woke me up. It's a very special flower. It blooms for only one day every year. Only very special people get to see it bloom. So you have to check it every day. If you miss it, that will be it. You have to wait until the next year. And no matter where I am, even if I'm not working in the resort, come and get me to see it too, okay? I crept out of bed and peeped out of the window. Nadu and Nene were transplanting some plants to one of the flower beds. I crept into bed and went back to sleep. Asaya called me the next morning. I'm sorry I was rude to you. It's okay. How is Saki? I told you they'd let him go. His father is a big man. Good for him. Look, I'm sorry things didn't work out between you and Ako. But you know what they say? When one door closes, another one opens. One of Saki's friends has been asking me about you. There's another party this weekend at Dansoman. I could introduce you. Huh? I promised to help Pope in the resort this weekend. Too bad, but seriously, I think you should be with a Legon boy. They are more mature and they know how to treat girls right. Plus, they are loaded. Really loaded. When you are ready, let me know. I will, I said, though I had no plans of ever letting her hook me up with anyone. Not if they couldn't keep their hands to themselves like Saki and Eko. I went outside to stretch my legs and get some fresh air. I could see Nene and Nadu walking side by side in the distance. Manche was washing Pope's Toyota 4Runner. Manche totally ignored me, which was fine by me. I didn't owe him any explanation. I didn't owe anyone any explanation but myself. Besides, handyman was just a nicer way of saying he was a boy. If he didn't like it, he could just get himself a proper job and stop tinkering with junk. As the weeks grew longer and longer and my friends began preparing for the university, I got so bored I didn't know what to do with myself. I jogged in the mornings and went for a swim each afternoon. I wished Manche would suggest we go for driving lessons in the Mona Lisa, but he continuously ignored me. I didn't see much of Pope and Nadu kept out of my way. Her abdomen was swelling by the day. I grew irritable. Seeing her just made my blood boil. It wasn't just her I was angry with. Nyawayo had become a frequent visitor to the house and hated seeing the two of them together. Nyawayo got along well with Nadu. When Mama was alive, Nyawayo had always criticized her. Nyawayo didn't have one bad word to say about Nadu. I couldn't hide my joy when Nyawayo said she was going to spend a month with her sister in Kumasi. Asaya called me early one morning to tell me her admission letter had finally come. I was jealous of her, but I pretended to be happy. When she hung up, I went out for a swim. I came home to find out that Nadu had new living room furniture delivered. and she and Mancha were arranging them. Our old furniture had been sent to the garage. You can't do that. Bweki, please, don't make a scene. Those chairs were worn out. I know your mom picked them out, but it's time to get new furniture. You don't have the right. I grabbed 2 wooden throw pillows and threw them out of the door and onto the sand. I grabbed the third one at the same time as Nadu. I tried to pull it away from her. She wouldn't let it go. Mancha grabbed me and tried to pull me away from Nadu. I let go of the pillow and Nadu went tumbling down. She hit her abdomen on the armrest of one of the chairs. She doubled over in pain. Mancha helped her gently into the new sofa. Then he turned to me. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with you? With all of you. You all act like she's the best thing that happened to you. I hate her and the baby. I hate her and the baby. I wish I'd never asked Pope for fresh flowers for Mama's grave. We were still shouting when Pope came in, followed by Nene. Pope tried to calm us both down, but all the anger and disappointment I felt for failing my wasi came pouring out of me. Nene ran up to his room and shut the door. I wanted to hurt someone the same way I was hurting. I screamed, I ranted, I raved. None of us noticed when Nadu disappeared until she came downstairs carrying a small suitcase. There were tears pouring down her cheeks. I can't do this anymore. Nadu, please, just give her time. Pope blocked her path and tried to take the suitcase from her hand. It's not just her. You're avoiding me too, aren't you? Since those phone calls started, you've just treated me like I've done something wrong. Nadu, let's talk about this, please. It's getting worse, can't you see? One of us has got to leave. She belongs here. I don't. My blood pressure's up all the time. The doctors fear I'll lose the baby if it keeps going up. I can't live like this. I tried, but I can't. We'll work it out. It will never work out. Pope, let me go, please. Pope had managed to get a firm grip on the handle of her suitcase. It's late. It's not safe for you to be driving, especially at this time of the night. I'll be fine. Okay, but spend the night. If you still insist on going tomorrow morning, I'll take you there myself. I can't do this anymore. She let go of the suitcase handle and I was surprised to see the way she was crying. I should have felt happy, but for some unexplainable reason, I actually felt sad for her. I shook the feeling away and gloated in the fact that all my hard work had finally paid off. Nadu gripped her handbag and walked out of the door. Pope left the suitcase and followed her out. I turned and was about to climb up to my room when I saw a shadow dart past the landing and heard Nene's door close softly, but not before I'd seen the sad look in his eyes. There was a slight twinge in my heart, but I shook that away as well. He'd get over it soon enough and would be fine. All three of us, just like we'd been before. Nadu left that night. For the first time in a long while, I slept soundly. The next morning, I woke up to find Nene standing beside me in his pajamas. I don't know how long he had been standing there waiting for me to wake up. Will Nadu come back? I don't know. I hope not. I really liked her. We'll be fine. It will be just like before. You wait and see. Nene left as silently as he'd come in. It was after he'd gone that it hit me that he'd spoken. I felt doubly proud of myself. If I hadn't made her leave, Nene would still be dumb. I jumped out of bed and rushed after him. He'd gone to inspect the flowers they'd planted together. The ones she told him would flower for just a day. Nene, you just spoke, I said and hugged him. How does it feel? Was it hard? Was it painful? Nene gently extricated himself from my grasp and shrugged. You can talk, can't you? I mean, you just spoke to me when you came to my room. You asked about Nadu. Bweki, I know what I said. I sighed and let the relief wash over me. He bent down to remove some weeds. Does Pop know? I haven't asked him yet. I don't mean about Nadu coming back. I mean about you talking again. He's so happy. I grabbed his hand and pulled him towards the resort. Bweki, you are still in your 90, he said, giggling. Oh, I forgot, and you are still in your PJs. Come on, let's go and change. I can't wait to see the look on Pope's face. I changed clothes and did POD, that is polish on dirt. Who cared? Besides, I'd taken a bath the night before. POD was what we used to do at school when the taps were off and the polytanks were empty, or sometimes even where there was water but you were running late and didn't have time to have a bath. We just put on a lot of deodorant and perfume and polished our faces. Usually no one could tell if you had had your bath or not. Nene and I were halfway to the resort before I remembered I'd forgotten my phone. I rushed back to take it and we continued. We met Manche on the way. I grabbed his hand and pulled him along, even though we were still not talking. You don't want to miss this, I said. He looked curious, but he followed me. The kitchen was busy. Pope's bald head glistered with sweat. He and Pa Willie were talking about something. They stopped when we entered. I'd already begun filming. Nene opened and closed his mouth a couple of times. I think Pope could tell what was happening. His eyes had gone double their size as his gaze went from Nene to me and then back to Nene. Manche took out his phone and began filming too. I think everyone could tell something big was about to happen. Go on, I whispered to Nene. Hi, Pope, Nene said, but was mostly looking at the floor. I think he was uncomfortable with all the attention. Even before the words were completely out of his mouth, Pope had taken 3 giant steps and was crushing Nene in a great big hug. He was sobbing and kissing Nene and trying to say something, but he choked each time and then just gave up. Go on, Manche, said, taking my camera, and I went and joined them. And he crushed me to the side too. And though I'd been happy and excited just moments before, I couldn't help it. I just started crying too. Then everyone was laughing and shouting and thanking God. And it was hard to keep crying, so we all just started laughing again. Everyone wanted to know what had happened, so I told them. Nene had walked into my bedroom. Go on, Manche said, taking my camera, and I went and joined them, and he crushed me to his side too. And though I'd been happy and excited just moments before, I couldn't help it. I just started crying too. Then everyone was laughing and shouting and thanking God, and it was hard to keep crying, so we all just started laughing. Everyone wanted to know what had happened, so I told them how Nene had walked into my bedroom and how he'd just spoken. Pa Willie gave out slices of coconut cake to everyone, and someone brought a crate of Alvaro from the bar, and we had a little party right there in the kitchen. Pope took off his apron. He said he'd given himself a half day, and we had to call our relatives and tell them. I walked by his side. Then there was a few steps ahead of us. Pope had called Nyawayo on his phone and told her the news. Nene was speaking to her. If she'd been in Ada, she would have been in the house in seconds. When he came up to your room, what did he say? Pope asked me. I couldn't help feeling bad when I saw the look of hurt in his eyes when I told him. The end.